Hello, welcome in. Get out the cold. Remember, shoes off at the front door. Get some snacks and come take a seat and join us here in the Music Shack with both
Ray, hi.
and Jack. And we're back. I need to quickly apologise for the sort of no uploads. I'm fully taking blame on this. The first week after the last upload, I was away, like I was going away, and I just didn't. We were trying to set down a time, and I just wasn't able to make it work. And then when I came back, I pretty much just was like unable to stand. So that created another episode that wasn't out. But we're back, and we've got quite a lot coming at you. We've got this episode. We've got like a first time listen to for an extremely exciting artist that we're going to then be interviewing on this Friday. So this will be the day after you're watching this is the day we'll be interviewing them, and then it'll be up on the first day, I think, and then the first time listen will be out on like the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe whenever. But this is such an exciting time for the channel and for us, and I appreciate obviously the time that we've been away and you are still watching the channel and everything. That's so kind. But I hope you're all doing awesome, and we're back with another video today.
We might have been gone, but we're making up for it. We're gonna have so many episodes, so many things out. We have so much exciting stuff like June, July, August. Like we're gonna be going to the Eras tour and doing vlogs, and we're gonna be doing maybe some IRL episodes. No promises. I'm making so many promises, but no promises.
Yeah.
And we're doing lots of fun stuff. So it's definitely don't worry, we will not be starving you of content any longer, hopefully. I always say that, and then we end up taking another break because we have jobs and lives and things to do.
Yes. And we're like very open about it. Mental health is incredibly important as well, so if we ever need a break, we're going to take it. But thanks for understanding. Yeah, genuinely,
we appreciate it. We appreciate the understanding, but we did miss a lot in the music industry while we were gone. There's been a bunch of albums from a bunch of different people come out in the last couple months. It's been insane. I'm so excited for next year's Grammys because it's going to be really competitive with all the albums that have come out, and we didn't talk about a lot of them, so we kind of hinted at this last week, but we wanted to go through all the albums and just give a little bit of overview of what we thought of each one. We don't have time to do a deep dive of every single album, unfortunately, but if you guys are interested in us doing a deep dive in any of these albums in a future episode in a couple months or whenever we have time, let us know in the comments. But otherwise, we should just dive into talking about the album. So the first album that we missed talking about came out a while ago now. It's Beyonce's album, Cowboy Carter. This is a country-esque album. I say country-esque because, I don't know, I feel like it's not like traditionally country, but it is country-inspired almost. I personally really liked it. I think if you're a fan of Beyonce, like, you're gonna love it because it definitely had a lot of like Beyonce, like you can tell it felt like a Beyonce album even though it was like a switch in genre for her. I think Beyonce herself, I might be wrong because I'm remembering incorrectly, said that this wasn't a country album, this is a Beyonce album, and like it was inspired by country, and I think the idea of it is super cool. Jack, what did you think of this album?
Yeah, so like a lot of artists recently have been like sort of hopping on the trend of like the country like it's been kind of an upward trend, but I think there's been artists that have done it really well, and there's been artists that haven't done it well, and you can like tell that they're in it just for like the money of like what's popping at that time and like the success they can gain from it. I think in classic form Beyonce brings like herself and like her style to the genre, and it's like something that I think we're obviously expecting to see from a Beyonce release. Like I think it's hard for Beyonce to release an album that doesn't slap. Like it's hard, but at this one I was a little bit more like kind of understanding of like I don't know how I'm going to feel about this because I know that a lot of people are doing country and everybody's got their own take towards it, and I think country obviously can be done in many different ways, but I'm quite a fan of like traditional like country stuff.
Yeah.
And like so I was a little bit like unsure of like where it's going to place, but I think yeah, like if we're obviously not running in too deep into like the each album, but again, if you want us to we can. It's just unfortunate timing of like us being off and stuff. I think like a lot of the tracks on it are like extremely well done. I think 27 is obviously like a lot of tracks, but it's also like if you're a fan of Beyonce's work, like you're not going to be disappointed of like any of the tracks on this like project. And there is like obviously certain ones that have been like spoke about more than others. Like you obviously have the Jolene like spin that was like Dolly Parton could not stop spoiling at the fact that was going to be happening on the album.
We did talk about that like a while ago as well, yeah.
It was so funny. But yeah, there's just like a lot of like stuff, and there's like obviously a lot of like collaborations, like features and stuff that have came off really well. Like obviously Beyonce and Post Malone. You cannot go wrong with a Post Malone track, and Post Malone's another artist going into like this genre as well, and does it really well. But yeah, I think overall the album is like something that's been really interesting to see from Beyonce's like stance, and just something I wasn't expecting originally. But like, I'm here for it. Like, yeah. I'm here for artists to explore new genres and do it in their own way, and as long as it's not insulting the genre that they're partaking in, then I don't see a problem with like artists trying something new and doing it in their own way. And this, I don't know if we're going to be rating these albums. We cannot. I don't know, depending. But like obviously, I'm not a huge Beyonce listener. Like when it comes to albums, like I'm like sort of like I need to be in the mood to listen. But this is one that was on like repeat like multiple times, at least like the first couple of weeks it came out, because it was genuinely like an exciting experience.
It was really good, and I think I would describe the album more as like modern country than traditional country. Yeah. And I think when people are like, oh, this isn't a country album, why was it marketed as such? Like, I think you have to think about artists like Kelsey Ballerini, which is like a good example of it, or even Taylor when she was doing country music. She was still like not doing traditionally country music like we think of, I don't know who like Luke Bryan or someone like that who's like very traditionally country. So that's why I'm like, it is, I want to say it's like country inspired, and like there was so much online discourse about the Jolene cover as well, about like whether it was good or not, and I think like it's meant to. I'm like such a huge fan of Jolene, like the original one. Yeah. And I just, it's hard for me to like have an unbiased look over it, because like it's something that I like have listened to for so long. And so I feel like I wasn't gonna like it regardless. But it was, I think, to each their own opinion. It's a Beyonce album. It is, like Beyonce always does, incredible work. You say like it's 27 tracks, but it's only an hour and 14 minutes. We will talk about this for the rest of the albums. Like, I'm sorry. Like, your album needs to at least be 45 minutes, maybe longer. Probably longer, preferably. It's a cohesive piece of work, which I really appreciate. And it's Beyonce. How, like, what we expect no less from her.
No, yeah, you've summed it up well. The artist, like the talk between like track lengths and like runtime and stuff is something so extremely interesting, because we've seen it split between like different album releases this year. Like everybody's like sort of either on one end of it or they're on the other end of it, and it's like it seems to be that there's like no good like balance of like albums at this point. Like I feel like everybody's either like on each side of the scale, but I don't know what it is. There's just not been like a lot of albums that have kind of stuck to like a good length. It's really strange.
I don't really care how long an album is. Like I said, 45 minutes, but I'm like, for me, an album needs to feel cohesive and complete. Yeah. It needs to tell, like, and if that album is 25 minutes and that is what gives you a cohesive story, sure. I personally probably would call that an EP, but whatever. You do you. Like Eternal Sunshine, I think, was like a very cohesive album, and we talked about it in great detail. It was a short album, but I don't think that takes away from how cohesive the album was. But like there are some albums that we'll get to that are so short that you get to the end of it and your Spotify loops back to the start and you're like, what? Why is it over already? And like that is not how you should feel when listening to an album, for sure.
I'm not even gonna say the name of who it is right now because I'm sure like everybody listening can understand who it is,
Yeah.
because it's just like a running thing. But it doesn't mean they're not making bangers, like they are. It's just funny how it's
Yeah.
like that was like the whole running like joke around it. I mean, we're going on to them now anyway, but like an artist that does it really well or done it really well this year was obviously Lizzie, because her album was like just over 45 minutes. It was 14 tracks and it was so cohesive. So it does just show that you don't need to have like a super long album, but if you're going to make a shorter album, it needs to definitely be like cohesive. And sometimes I think when you pad it out with tracks like all like 2 minutes long, I think sometimes I don't know how I feel about that yet. Like I'm still trying to decide. Like I don't know if I would prefer something that's like an hour long, like 18 tracks, instead of something that's like an hour long and like 30 tracks. Like I just don't know how I feel about it. Like I think if you've got like interludes and stuff, I think it comes into play a lot more, and it does. I think it also goes into part of the play of like creating a cohesive storyline without taking too much, like without adding too many songs in there. But I don't know, this whole like year has been interesting for rollouts because everybody's doing it in like very different ways, in their own different styles as well. But I guess we should just talk about that album that is maybe a little bit shorter.
So the next album we want to talk about is, we're kind of going in chronological order. This is Dua Lipa's album. Dua Lipa's album, Radical Optimism. As we talked about, it's a short album, and it did make me feel like that feeling of, oh, it's already over. It's only 36 minutes, 11 tracks. Yeah. I saw something on Reddit, and I like need to tell you because when I read it, I like laughed, and it was like, this album is very British tourist in Spain. And like for me, like that is such a accurate description of this album. It just feels like this like really nonchalant, like, you know, rich girl album almost, but like it's got a bunch of bops, and there's like songs on here that I like listen to over and over. These Walls is one of them. Like they're super catchy, and then there's some like complete flops on this album, personally. And I like, as an OG fan of Dua Lipa from like her self-titled album, and like a less big fan of Future Nostalgia, I think this was like worse than Future Nostalgia. Like in that chronological order, her debut album's like still the best for me, but I also know that maybe I'm not in the popular opinion with this because, you know, Future Nostalgia was such a huge hit. But I don't know, Jack, what do you think about this record?
Yeah, we've actually not spoke about any of these records to each other, so like that was my first time hearing kind of how you felt about it. I'm surprised, like, but I knew you were obviously. I've heard your story with like Dua and like your history and how you preferred like obviously albums over albums, and I don't know. I'm someone who's not a very big dance like listener. Like I'm quite like people on here and people that have listened should know that I'm really into slow and like just wordy stuff, and just like a bunch of other stuff as well. But this is, I actually was kind of not blown away, but I was kind of taken back by how much I did enjoy it. Like I think I enjoyed the project a lot more than I thought I was gonna. I do like Dua's older stuff, but I'm so fully honest, I never actually listened, or like I've listened to some songs obviously because it's definitely been radio played, but like I've never listened to, I think, anything after, oh gosh, when would it have been? Like probably, I don't think I've ever listened to anything on like Future Nostalgia. Maybe I've heard obviously like some of them, but again, it's just like the category I'm kind of, or like a genre I'm kind of stray away from a lot. But I don't think it's like a bad genre. Like it's not. It's just not my style. But
it's just not for you, which is totally valid.
Yeah, and like obviously the track, like I think we knew with the track, or like knew the album was going to be shorter. Like that's kind of like Dua's thing. Like she releases like a normal version of the album, which is quite short, and then she releases like the deluxe and stuff. And I don't know
I
if she'll
hate
be
that.
doing that. No, I know, but I think it plays really well into the dance genre. Like I think the audience
Yeah.
that listen to this type of music are really like what's the word, receptive, like is receptive the word to it. Like I think they take it in really well. And here, like obviously she knows our like our audience and stuff, so that like that's what I guess they're gonna maybe do with this rollout. 11 songs. I think my favorite song off of this is Anything for Love. I don't know why. I think it's because it's a wee bit, maybe a bit. It comes in slower initially and then kind of plays out. But there is obviously a bunch of
It's
bangers
funny
on
because
this.
it's the least played song, and I think like probably like the least talked about song as well online.
Well, I'm so
Because, like,
different. That's all. I'm
no,
just.
I think it's because you're not a fan of dance, and like
Yeah.
the people who listen to Dua Lipa are, and I think that's totally valid and fine. But I think that there's a lot of problems with the release of this record, and I think that Dua Lipa's like move to use her dad as a manager and um you know, the production and like everything, she doesn't do any of that. Like she's not the main writer on any of her music or anything, which is not a problem. Like I'm not saying that she should be, but I'm just saying that like she needs like a good label and team around her to help her get an album that's gonna work well for her and also do the right promotion and all of that fun stuff. Like it didn't happen this time, and I really hope that she learns from that because of how poorly this record is doing right now. But like I said, it's got some absolute bangers on it, so I think it's got potential, and I wouldn't be surprised if they all blow up, if Dua like does like a 3-year gap between her albums again and pushes almost every single track as a single like she did with Future Nostalgia. So we'll see what happens.
Did you say her dad is her manager?
I think so. Might be wrong.
Is that always been the case, or is that
No,
like a new thing?
it's just like it's like a new thing.
That's so interesting. I wonder if that has affected like the rollout, because you wonder how much of this, like, obviously like a lot of like the push does come from like the industry as well after an album releases. So I wonder if like that has had
her
any
dad is
effect
her
on.
manager.
That's what is that what he does? Is he like a? This is
No,
like an
he doesn't have any. I like
doesn't have any.
from okay. I don't like know exactly. Wasn't super involved by the tea, but I think what happened was like around 2 years ago, she hired her dad as her manager, and he doesn't have any experience in the music industry because I don't know, she decided to separate from her team who were
Fair.
like doing
Yeah.
her super well, like is the whole reason that she's super successful.
That's so interesting. I've just looked up
But
her dad, and it just says that he was the lead singer of and guitarist of Kosovian rock band Oda. So like a little bit experience, but obviously not in this like field. That's so interesting. No, I mean, like I'm all for it. Like obviously it depends on how like she was with the team previously. Like maybe that's just better for her health and like her well-being. And
well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Britney, in that sense. Like we don't know. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And, like, and I think I saw a lot of people online like blaming this switch on like her album not doing successful as
Yeah.
well because whatever, she wasn't being pushed in the right directions for it. And I don't know, I don't want to speculate on that, but I think it's something to be talked about.
No, I mean that's so fair. And like we've obviously spoke about Beyonce's there, but like I think there's a little bit more on like what we can say about how like albums are really being like perceived nowadays. Like I think we've obviously seen since TTPD came out a lot of talk about how like this was like Billie's album was obviously rated 6.8. Dua's was like 6.6 from like Pitchfork, and we've been like seeing a lot of like lower numbers come in from like artists that we thought would have been in like 9s, because I think Taylor's was obviously originally what, like I can't remember what she got for TTPD, but
Yeah.
it's interesting because like I have seen a lot of people being like, oh, TTPD obviously was done really bad, but it's also like set like a standard of like how they're reviewing stuff nowadays, or like, but I've also seen a lot of negative stuff about how people felt comfortable reviewing TTPD like that, so now they're getting comfortable reviewing other like women, like other ladies, like
which is such bullshit. I
yeah,
mean, like,
that
you should be honest, but not like extremely misogynistic and be like, women can't make good music.
no, like, but I also yeah, because it's like, it's also like they're also doing it to everybody else's albums, like it isn't just that, like
Yeah.
the industry's changed a lot. Like a lot of people are expecting so much from music and different things from different genres, so like
Yeah.
obviously these artists done really well in like the years prior, because that's where the industry like that's where things were then. Like the industry's ever changing, like styles are like becoming more popular and decreasing in popularity, and so like with this is like the changing of like rankings and reviews are going to change how, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but just because like an artist has had like notoriously amazing reviews and stuff isn't always going to be the case, like especially if their genre becomes less like popular or oversaturated. Like there's going to be a lot more in that they're then going to be pinning that style against like each other and being like, okay, well this actually didn't perform as well as this because blah blah blah. Like I just think there's a lot more competition out there nowadays, and that obviously comes to like lower rankings and stuff, but it's down for personal taste. Like if you like that record, like don't let a review skew you, like do your own thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna let you mainly talk about this because I'm gonna be fully honest, I have not listened to this yet.
Okay.
And this is Room Under the Stairs by Zayn.
Yeah, so yeah, this is by Zayn. He released this album. When did he release it? I can't remember.
22nd. Oh no, it was when it was reviewed. God, we're actually, look guys, we're really bad. I promise. We're rusty. Let me double check. You're getting our full internal dialogue.
So this album's like, as you would expect from Zayn, it's an R&B piece. His vocals are absolutely incredible on it, as it expected. I mean, he has like really good vocals.
17th of May. Sorry.
I think it's super interesting, the process of this album, which was very like. The way that the album was made was like he was like alone and he made it in his home studio, and it was very isolating experience for him, and you can feel that in the music. It's almost a little bit more of a somber record, and I think that this record is complete. It's 15 songs, 49 minutes. It feels complete. It has a really good start and finish. I think I don't really have much bad to say about it. I think the one thing that I find personally is like a lot of the sounds on the record are very samey throughout.
Okay.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it is cohesive in that sense. But it also, I think that there's like a good balance between both, and I think it comes down to maybe me not being also like not really listening to R&B that much, and so not being used to that sound, so like trying to absorb that is a little bit harder for me than like a pop album. But yeah, I think that's it on what I have to say for that, so we could keep that short and sweet, but definitely do give that a listen if you haven't already.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I've just got the Pitchfork page up. It got a 5.8, but again, this is everybody's getting lower than they were kind of expecting to. So I'm really intrigued to hear this is gonna sound. So I'm gonna listen to it at work tomorrow because I kind of I was saying this to Ray earlier. I've kind of been on this like I go through these stages where I just don't listen to new music, and then it like because there's been so much release, like I just like you get behind all and you're like, oh gosh, there's so much to catch up on. But one release that we did, like we both listened to, going back to this, is Billie's new release. Billie Eilish has released our new project. How many studio albums is it? Is this her third, yeah. Third studio album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, which is a 10-track record.
Even shorter than Dua Lipa's, and
yeah.
this is it's 43 minutes. but like I I think 10 songs is too short for an album. And like I listened to this album, and when I said, like, when I was saying at the start that, like, when you get to the end of an album and it loops back to the start and you're like, oh, it's over. Um, and I think I maybe didn't feel that because I found it short, but maybe the closing track wasn't necessarily like a closer for me on this record. It was like it was missing something, and maybe there's a deluxe that's gonna like help it feel more cohesive. Um, I think Skinny is like my favorite song on this album.
Okay.
Something that I've really liked from Billie in the past, specifically on Happier Than Ever. I absolutely loved her production, or well, Phineas's production, but the production on the album, I didn't really like the changes in the production. It was a little bit more like synth pop this time. Um, wasn't my favorite, but I definitely preferred Happier Than Ever to this, but it's not a bad album.
Yeah, I think my favourite is probably Birds of a Feather.
Mm-hmm.
I've obviously, before I actually listened to the album, I'd heard Lunch because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's one of those songs, like, it's classic, not so much classic Billie, like, styling, but it does follow that. And you can see, obviously, why it's performing well. And the whole album is doing pretty well. But there's a couple tracks on here that are obviously not reaching the numbers that the other tracks were. But there's obviously just so much music out at the minute. I think it's kind of falling for the same. Like, everybody's in the charts and everybody's combating against each other. And there's like so much going into it, which we will get into in a second. But this is yeah, I think I was a really big fan of like Billie in general, and like her art. Like, I think she's someone who you always get those people that come into the industry and like everything is so effortless for them. Like, they are just so insanely talented at like what they do and how they do it. Like, the founder process, and it works so well, and it's like whatever they do just works, right? And like When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go was like a huge like that was like Billie like blew expectations out of the water with that. I think you have obviously those classic hits that are just incredible, still to this day still stand like true and really well. And then you had Happier Than Ever, which has also done really well in terms of like not so much defining a different genre, but like leaning into a different style in some areas, and done really well in that case as well. And it was again some standout hits on this as well. And then you come into this, and it's still very Billie. It does come under probably is my like third favorite album of hers. But I think there is obviously tracks that work really well, like Skinny, Birds of a Feather, Wildflower. Like, there is a lot on here. And it's an album that obviously like I'll go back and listen to. Like, it's not something that I'm like deeply offended by. Like, there is tracks on there that like I like.
Same.
And Billie's like really like cool and doing things in her own way. And you can never like fault anybody for ever doing that. Like, and I mean, she's always been one to do it. So yeah, I enjoyed the project. I think if I was to like kind of base it off of like Beyonce, Dua, Zayn, Billie, I can't really say Zayn, but I'd probably say like Billie's probably been my favorite release we've had. I think just because it fits more into the style that I prefer. We will quickly. I don't know if we should quickly. There is a couple other things that we'll quickly do, like, just to get this conversation out of the way in terms of like the songs. No, let's dive into this. We'll dive into, and then we'll come back to the other albums and the tracks coming out. Do you want to start? Do you want to start or?
Yeah, so I guess like we can't talk about Billie's album without talking about the drama between like Swifties and Taylor and Billie and all that. I think it all kind of started when her manager was liking shady tweets about Taylor, like essentially blocking Billie on the charts and stuff. And then like Billie like said some stuff. She specifically said something like, I don't have the quote in front of me or anything, but she said like nobody wants a 3-hour long concert, which like obviously that's Beyonce and Taylor are doing that, and they're both selling out stadiums to do that. So
Yeah.
clearly people want it. And I think like Swifties were just kind of offended that like Taylor was expected to stop promoting her new album because somebody else released an album. And Billie's fans were offended that she didn't do that, and that's like not feminist enough or some bullshit. And like I saw a lot of good comments about how like we don't expect Olympians or anything to step down just to let somebody else have their chance. Taylor supports her friends in times of need. She does a lot of things for people in the music industry. She, like, you know, obviously there's a chart battle between Taylor and SZA in the past, and that was done in a completely respectful way. So I don't know. It's interesting. There's this tweet from Kiss Me Try to Fix Psy, and they said, being a girl's girl is housing your friend and her kids during her divorce, paying Kesha's legal fees in her case against Dr. Luke, supporting small female-owned businesses. It is not stopping promoting your music so someone else can be number one. And I just think that's super important. But what are your thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, we like primarily people will know us as like Swifties. We are Swifties, like we're huge Swifties. We've been fans for forever. But I think we like to come at these things like try and stay back, like we try and stay in the middle, and like not lean over because we are Swifties. And I think it genuinely just boils down to like the industry is so fucking hard on like women in the industry already. Like why is it constantly like, why are you pinning each other against, like, why are you pinning yourself against someone else who is making waves and doing some extreme, like, incredible work within the industry to, like, fight, like, you should be uplifting each other. Like, I think it's such a, like, a horrible industry as it is. But, like, it's not even just, like, Billie's stuff. Like, the whole manager's getting involved in, like, being really shady with liking tweets is so dumb. Like, I know it's such a competitive business, but, like, it is so silly. Like, I don't get how... Like,
but that's my thing. You know, it's a competitive business, and you know, Taylor's like the most popular artist in the world right now, and Billie is super successful, rightfully so. She's extremely talented and deserves that. But to expect to not have any competition when you release your album, when you know, there's a bunch of other huge artists who have also recently released albums, as you can tell from the rest of this video, to expect, like, that it's going to be easy sailing to get, like, number one in a shit ton of sales it's not it. If her manager cared that enough, she, like, it would have been advised to Billie to delay her album release or whatever because of all the competition at this very moment, and that wasn't the case, and they decided to start internet drama instead.
Ultimately, just like, I don't get it, because as you were saying, like, there would be no other industry where someone should be like have to step down or like not try as hard because it's their job at the end of the day. Like, that's like someone coming into your workplace and like trying to get like the job that you're also going for, and then you being like, oh, but they're like also really trying, and they're also like they're like new, or like they're obviously trying for it, so I'm just gonna hold back and like not go for the job or like not try as hard as I can. Like, it's dumb, it's silly. They're artists, like that's their whole thing. At the end of the day, like, these artists are making, like, they're there to make money, right? Like, and the labels want as much of that as possible, so they're gonna be trying to like keep up these like positions in charts. They're gonna be pushing these releases, and we've seen like a back and forth with like Taylor's team releasing signed TTPDs again. They've been releasing these digital versions. They've been like doing pretty much everything to get these, like, to pretty much keep Taylor's positions in the charts. Billie fan pages have been reaching out to like other fan pages like Olivia.
Oh, I saw
like,
that.
And they've all been like, yeah, no, I'm not with, like, I'm siding with like Taylor on this one. And I think it just comes like there's been a lot of stuff recently, surrounding obviously the record release that we were talking about last time. We were like no, was it last? We spoke about it at some point in the last one of the last couple of episodes where Billie had mentioned how obviously like artists are creating like so many different variations of records, and I agreed with her. Like I think her stance is true. Like it's such a corruptive and like really predatory like style that but it's working, and that's why that's why they're doing it. But then to like have little things like capitalizing the ME exclamation mark, like the me and stuff, is like the initial shade, and then there has been like obviously saying that thing about the 3-hour concerts, and a lot of people have taken from that comment, like a lot of people have been annoyed because they've been like, well, you clearly like are on a different level because of how much like these tickets are costing. Like we want as much, like as long as of a concert as we possibly can have. But we've seen a lot of like people shift from hating Taylor to like siding with her on this side, and it's been interesting to see like the shift of people. But like again, at the end of this, like I just think it's such a competitive and horrible industry. I just wish there would be like, why is there this fight? Like you should be
celebrating each other's successes, because like otherwise it's just too much. And I don't know. You want to be successful, but you also should have support in the industry, and in order to do that you need to celebrate other people's successes. It's interesting. It's super interesting what's going on, and I just think it's super petty and like so dumb. But that's that. I don't think there's much more to say. You pretty much covered all the bases, Jack. There are some really fun new things coming out. There's Gracie Abrams' new album coming out on June 21st. She's released one single, Risk, which personally been on repeat for me. Absolutely love it. What about you, Jack?
Love it. It's such a good style. Like I was really interested to see where this album was going, and I like if it continues like this, then it's gonna slap. It's gonna be so good. And there has been like, the track list sounds awesome, and there's also like something really cool on that track list, and it's like, that's crazy. I don't know if you have the track list
Taylor Swift. Us featuring Taylor Swift, track 5. I am super excited.
The track 5 as well.
Comes out on June 21st, and I'm going to be on the train to London for the Eras tour, listening to this album for the first time. No way am I staying up, by the way, because I need to sleep before Eras tour. So I will be listening to it on the train, but I'm super excited for that. Close to You is on it. It's just going to be such a good album. My biggest problem with this album is like the back cover, and even the front cover is like really ugly, but like it's meant to be like artsy or whatever, but like she could have picked any other photo to be on the back of the cover. What the hell is that? She's beautiful, and she should embrace it.
I really want to hear like what because it is obviously like there's like it was Abby that took these pictures, so I'd really love to see like the direction that Abby like decided to take the shoot in, and like why, and because I just like this stuff really interests me, and it's an interesting like style, but
I think it's like, I could tell that like it was taken like by Abby, not because Abby's a bad photographer or anything, she's great, but it's because they're best friends, and like that's the kind of thing that like two best friends take and then laugh about, but like you would never make it your album cover. But like maybe that's the point, you know, like I think that was like part of the point, because she did describe the album as like coming home and running to tell your friends everything that happened, and so that's probably like part of the point. But like, God, I don't know. Having that in my vinyl collection, I'm like, oh, okay.
No, yeah. Well, they're obviously really close because they're like cousins, right? So it's like, it's there's like a lot behind obviously like what they do and what they put out, and like Abby's stuff is sick. But yeah, I just would love to hear like when the album comes out, if we're going to get an understanding of like like just more behind it, because there is like there's an alternative cover, right? Or is there an alternative cover?
Yeah, the alternative cover's even uglier.
Is that like the one with the, like where she's closing her eye?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like. She's closing her eye in the back cover.
Oh, that's that's
pink,
what it is.
The pink cover. Where's the pink cover? It's this one. I'm gonna send it to you, Jack. She's like looking down.
Let me see. Oh
like
yeah,
the original cover is way better.
Yeah, but that pressing is stunning, by the way. So
I
went
know,
a little
the
bit
pressing
crazy
is stunning.
and got like that one and the yellow one, and then there was another one, but I don't think I got the other one. But and then
I
they
got
had
the Blood Records.
Blood Records one,
yeah.
which was really cool, but it's also not it's not reached the capacity yet. So if you're looking for a really cool pressing, it's getting a lot of hate online. I don't know why. It's really cool, and it kind of does fit with the album. But go check out the Blood Records pressing of The Secret of Us. I always forget.
The best. I think I ordered it right away, so I think I either have like an early triple digit or a double digit number on my.
Oh my gosh.
Vinyl, which is cool. But yeah.
So
the other album is the beabadoobee album that's coming out. Jack, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, This Is How Tomorrow Moves. Expected to be released. Well, it's not expected, but it is to be released on 16th of August. Which beabadoobee is genuinely. I love her music so much. It's her third studio album, and it is the track list like obviously runs down from like Take a Bite, which has been the single that's been released so far. Such a good song, although there is a line in it that like everybody is getting wrong, and not wrong, but it's like they can't unhear it, and it's like, see when you miss your lyrics and you can't get that out of your head.
Yeah.
So it's so it says take a bite, right? But the way she says it sounds like date gay Biden. And like and I don't know if you've listened to it, but you need to listen to it after this.
No,
but like
I should.
everybody, like I seen one person say it, and I'm like, I cannot get that out of my head every single time I listen to this song now. But it's like now just everywhere online, and it's funny. But the track list consists of, there is 14 songs. So it's California, One Time, Real Man, Tie My Shoes, Girl Song, Coming Home, Ever Seen, Cruel Affair, Post, Beaches, Everything I Want, The Man Who Left Too Soon, and This Is How It Went. This was produced by Rick Rubin. I don't know if it's singly produced by Rick Rubin or if there is someone else on it as well. So it's Jacob. Yeah, so Jacob's on it again. So Jacob is producing this with Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is like a legendary figure in the art, like the music world. So I'm so excited to see how this comes out. There was also a tour announcement, I think, coming out tomorrow, she says, so this will be on Wednesday. So
exciting.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with that, but I cut you off. Sorry, what were you just about to say?
No, I was gonna say you got me into beabadoobee, so I'm like excited for this album. I'm sure it'll be really good, and we'll talk about it on the podcast when it comes out. But yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. There's a bunch of different stuff, just catching up on everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little chats that we had. What?
There is one more.
One more. We forgot something.
Yeah, I know, and that's so bad because she's coming on the podcast next week. Oh gosh. Yeah. It was planned, guys. It was planned. This is just.
It was planned.
This is a surprise reveal for who's coming on next week. So we're obviously, Ray's not listening to this yet because we're going to be doing a first time listen. But Chloe Slater, who I feel like I've mentioned like a lot.
Yeah.
But someone who is doing really cool things in the scene in the UK, has released her EP, her like debut EP, called You Can't Put a Price on Fun, which consists of 5 tracks, which is really fun, really good. It came out on the 23rd of May. I just seen her live in Manchester, and it was the fucking sickest experience ever. We are going to be doing not an album breakdown. We're going to be a first time listen, probably Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever, and then she's going to be joining us on the podcast next week. And this is our first interview, guys. So obviously, like, if you have any, like, if you know Chloe Slater and you've made it this far and you want to know anything, if you want to ask her anything, like, put it in the comments of this video. We'll also probably say it in the first time listen as well, but we'll see if we can fit in any questions. But yeah,
from the fans, thank you for listening. We will see you in the next couple days with our first time listen of Chloe Slater. So enjoy all the content that you guys have coming up. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.